Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Ammiel.
We love video games and movies, and we love talking about them.
So we are hosting a new podcast where every week we choose one video game and one movie to talk about.
We will go through each click and flick from beginning to end and talk about what we like and don't like. And then we will give you a rating based completely on our own opinions and nothing else. Ciao. Yay!
Hey!
Welcome back!
Here we are.
We are here.
Third episode of Click and Flick.
Clicks and Flicks. Click and Flick. Sorry. I say plural, but you know what I mean.
The Click and Flick podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can get your clicks and your flicks.
And enjoy our banter.
I think last week we started with the flick.
Yes.
So I think this week we're going to start with the click.
Yes.
Melissa,
okay.
I'm excited about this one.
Me too. I really love this game. I played quite a few hours on
I can't decide if I love this game or hate this game.
That's fair. That's completely fair. So this week's click is Don't Starve. Now, that is the single player game that evolved into a multiplayer called Don't Starve Together, which is the one that I've played. I have not played like the single, which you can play single player in the Together one, but I digress. Basically what the game is about, it's a vast survival game that has had an expansion, and you can choose to play with your friends or strangers, which that's a great idea, is to try and play with strangers to see how well
trying to survive with strangers. Yeah. I would get frustrated probably.
I'm sure you'd probably get more frustrated than you would have good games, but you never know.
But I get frustrated playing it on my own. So
yeah, just by yourself. And I mean, the whole premise is to survive harsh environment, survive a harsh environment mixed with enemies and fiends and weather changes and all kinds of variables that can kill you, basically. And the darkness is always the kind of the looming problem in the game. It's always, because it goes by days, and they're very quick days, but the daylight is what you strive to do all of your hunting and scavenging with. But once night hits...
You're hunting, you're gathering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And... Mm-hmm. The night is scary. Especially if you first play it and you don't know what you're doing.
Yes. Okay, so my first time dying was like dying at night. Mm-hmm. And I was literally like... It's scary, guys. It's just like... These two eyes, like... open up, and then it's like a loud thud, and you're literally dead. Like, you do not know what kills you when you're in the dark, because it's pitch black.
Yeah, you cannot see anything unless you have a torch or a campfire, which I think brings so much excitement to the game. And you really can't even unlock the sleeping bag or the pile of hay for a little while.
Oh gosh. And sometimes I've been playing Don't Starve with the Switch version.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the single player. But the time that I died, because I wasn't able to sleep, because I wasn't able to make a sleeping bag for like 6 days.
Oh my God, that's
I didn't have the materials. I couldn't find, because you need gold to make a science machine. You need a science machine to make a sleeping bag. And I could not find any gold for 6 days. I was walking around the whole map, just lighting things on fire.
That's one way to do it.
I lost my mind.
The insanity in the game is so interesting to me. And each different character has a different level of way they can handle the darkness. So some characters go insane relatively quickly, and some have, abilities that make them a little more resistant to it, which that was my favorite part about the game, was just the different characters and the in-depth almost story that they have. I forget what the girl's name is, but she has a little sister, a little ghost sister.
The fire starter girl? I think her name's Willow.
She's the
she's
pyromaniac.
The second. Yeah. She's like the second option that you can have.
Oh, I forget her name. She has blonde hair. She's really cute. But yeah, she gets pretty afraid in the dark pretty quickly. So she loses her sanity fast. But all the variables and characters is what made the game for me. And obviously, building anything in the game takes a decent amount of resources. The darkness is a constant threat.
And then trying to find food.
That is also very hard.
Especially if you're a vegetarian. I'm just kidding.
Right?
Trying to be a vegetarian in the game. Just kidding.
All the berries, all the carrots.
The berries, the carrots.
Yes. And I have not progressed to like end game material, but I did get to the point to where I was able to have a home base, and have a stone wall around my area, which that's as far as I've ever gotten in the game because it is that difficult to play.
It's so hard. Like, you die so quickly. I was actually doing really good. I was on 6 days. I had food. I had science machines on like 2 sides of the map, so that I could, like, whatever side I was on would be where I would camp that night. And then one day I'm like, oh, you know what? I need bees. I'm gonna go. And I've died. Like, within one like approach. I didn't even like it, just like the bees came out and I died. I'm all okay.
You were like,
okay, so how?
That any enemy in the game is not easy to defeat. They usually travel in numbers, and just to give also more premise of the game is cartoon. It is 2D for the most part, but also 3D because you can...
Yeah, it's like sketch art, but it is like the 3D landscape.
Yes. It's like Tim Burton style type animation, which is really
that kind
cool.
of like dark, but it is like scary, like edgy.
And it's a lot of fun to play with a bunch of people, but it is hard to keep all of you alive because all the resources around you dwindle pretty quickly. But again, because I haven't reached the end game, I don't necessarily know if there is one, or if there is like an ultimate boss you defeat, or you kind of take over the entire land that you spawn into. But
at first, what I read was there was no end of the game, but then I read that they did an update where you had to find like 4 pieces there are 4 pieces hidden on the map that will create a machine that brings you back to your room or whatever, because the opening of the game on the Switch I'm sure it's the same on PC.
It should.
But you are like an aspiring inventor in your room, and you can't make this thing. It keeps like failing, and then your radio starts talking to you, and it's like this evil spirit through the radio that starts saying like, I'll give you everything you need to know, basically. And so you like go and you like listen to the radio, and then you make this awesome machine. But what it does, it's a trap, and it actually is like a demon machine that traps you in this other world. So you turn it on, and it's like, and you like wake up in this other world, and then this guy is like, "Who you look a little bad. You better find something to eat."
Maybe, okay, to be fair, I haven't played this game in probably a year or so, give or take. And that sounds drastically different. So they probably put in a lot more story detail than what I remember, or at least from what they had a little over a year ago.
Also, that's on the Switch version, so I'm not sure if they have that whole intro thing when you played it.
That's super interesting. I kind of want to like test it out and see, because the story is fantastic. because I already like am in love with all of the characters. So
Yeah, and it's interesting to me to play a game that's a lot like Animal Crossing, and yet
yep.
it makes you feel so not like Animal Crossing.
It's not like Animal Crossing. It's like Tarantula season, but times 10.
Gosh. It's like
yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's more scary than you may think too, because something about, I was never really afraid of the dark. Obviously, when I was like 3, I had a nightlight because I was afraid. But as I got older, not ever really scared of the dark. But that game invokes it for sure. And whoo boy.
The thing that I wonder is that in the game, if you're awake and your fire goes out, you'll die. But if you're asleep, your fire goes out, but you don't die.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense to me. I'm like,
yeah, you're
come
not
on.
wrong. Come on. I think it's just giving you, you know, the stats to heal and like gain a little bit of sanity. So it's kind of a double-edged sword too.
Yeah. It's such a hard game. It really is. Like
because this game is so short to talk about, because it is what's the word I'm looking for? It's like it's just a survival game. And there's not a whole lot of premise to it. There's creatures that you definitely don't see in most games that are really interesting and scary and kill you in one hit kind of thing, but like that also gives it a pretty, you know, unique edge. And simply for the difficulty alone, I'm going to give it 6 clicks. Simply. I was going to give it 7, but the difficulty and the amount of times I've restarted the game because I've died so many times or spawned in a really shitty area, it's rough. It's a rough game to get through, and it takes it's a big learn curve for sure. But you got story, so I wonder how that affects your opinion and like thought process.
It's not like a storyline that continues throughout the game. It's just an intro that kind of sets you up to why you're in this area. But it's definitely a difficult game.
Yeah.
Even just surviving like 2 or 3 days if you're a beginner that's
a lot.
Is hard. And I was looking up like videos and tips on what to do to survive, and it's like you really have to die a lot in order to
to learn.
Oh, well, this time I died in the dark. Better make sure I have enough like fuel for my campfire tonight.
Yeah.
Or
it's
this
a lot
time
of trial
I
and
starve,
error.
so I better make sure I focus on finding. I have enough fuel for the campfire, and I get enough carrots, and I better like
get enough resources to progress in the game too, because all the while you have to keep yourself alive.
And oh my gosh, when you start to lose your mind, it's slow, and the animation, girl.
I know.
For the first time, okay, do you remember in Bad Trip how I was saying that's not like how drugs is like that's not what it looks like when you're on drugs?
Right.
Okay, but in Don't Starve, when you start losing your mind, I was
sleep
like,
paralysis,
oh my God, this is what it looks like being on mushrooms and stuff. Like,
oh really? Okay, that's interesting.
It's like the way that it's. I thought it was like crazy because you're walking through the woods and it starts waving and watering and stuff. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, she's like on mushrooms, like she's losing it. I really did. She really does eat. I really did have her eat a lot of mushrooms, but I don't think they do make you lose your mind.
Yeah, luckily in that game, mushrooms aren't like they don't hurt you.
And there are rare like instances I found in media where it seems like the representation of the experience feels like something I've experienced on drugs, and even though in this game they weren't saying like it's not like a drug experience in the game. What they showed, I was like, oh my gosh, whoever designed this definitely has.
Yeah, to some extent, which is interesting because I'd like to keep that a theme in the movies that we watch and the games that we play through or talk about
drugs.
Because yeah.
I like the theme of drugs. I'm just kidding.
Right? Well, I mean, to give another opinion of another survival game that we may talk about in the future, but their interpretation of getting so hungry that you're dying is like the lower half of the screen starts to wave and you don't really lose your sense of like balance. There are some games that really over exaggerate it. So it'd be really fun to like keep a tab open of what game depicts and movies too. What games and movies like depict the actual representation of what that drug does to you.
I wonder, because I honestly feel like it's so rare that I've seen representation in film where it actually looks like anything I've experienced before, which I'm not saying I've experienced all of this shit in the past, but you know,
there are some good starting points. And I mean, I've done some, but definitely not anything that I could give a repertoire of what most movies have characters go through or games besides alcohol.
Right. There are so many things that I don't. But even then, so many people in movies and like video games. Well, I guess not in video games. There are a few video games where your character can get drunk and it starts actually affecting its like role. But in movies, you don't really see people realistically.
Yeah, through their point of view, like first person view. That makes sense. Because Bad Trip was a good base of what it's not like.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like...
Well, that one part, obviously. But...
Yeah, that one part. There were a lot of good parts of that movie. But in Don't Starve, the way that the trees start to like change and shift and it gets worse and worse, and then you literally start seeing red like veins around like your eyes.
Yeah, it's all transparent.
Once it gets to that point, you've like totally lost your mind, and that's not the part where I think it's like drugs at all. That's a different like that's the point. That's the part where I like literally died. And at that point in the game, when you're that crazy, you can't sleep anymore. And this is when I couldn't. This is how I died, because I couldn't sleep. Because once you're that crazy, when it's nighttime, shadows come out in the dark and attack you at your campfire the whole night.
That's what I was going to touch on too, is aren't the shadows the hands that come out? Now, obviously they're cartoon, but they're also a little bit transparent, if I'm not mistaken, right?
They start off that way, and the crazier you get, maybe I should use a different term, the more you lose like your brain power.
Yeah. Your cognitive
brain the
power.
More
prominent it gets.
The shadows become darker and darker, and then they just look like they're just like shadow monsters.
Don't you even see wandering souls too, like wandering ghosts and like...
I haven't seen any, but my longest I've lived is like 7 days, I think.
Okay. I'll have to remember that.
There are so many things, like I haven't even made like a crock pot or like the things you can cook with. I don't know, like I've just been eating cooked berries and carrots and trapping rabbits. But the rabbits become scarier looking as you get crazier too. That was the other thing, is the monsters, they start looking scarier and scarier.
That can also be a play on actual reality as well, because things take different shapes and feelings and meanings when you're intoxicated.
But also when you don't like understand something, it's scarier. So if you're in a mindset that you aren't capable of understanding something,
that's true. Yeah,
you're probably gonna be like more inclined to be afraid of it.
Definitely. Something your brain has not, like a path your brain has not gone down before. The unknown is scary. Even your own thoughts are scary. That's the truth.
There's a version that you can play on the Switch, and I don't know if you can play this on the PC, but they have a shipwrecked version where you're on an island. And so that one's kind of fun because it's really like Animal Crossing.
Really?
Yeah, except you can die. But you're on your own island, so that's the only way. It's more like Animal Crossing.
Do you get to name it?
Yeah, well, I named mine.
Is Tom Nook there?
You don't name it in the game, but I can name mine. Tom Nook. Technically, I guess the guy who like steals you and drops you on the island is kind of like Tom Nook. He traps you there. So then I guess you end up having like you can build rafts and boats and stuff. So in that version, I only ever made it to like day 7 or something, and you can build a raft and you can go fishing, and you can get seaweed and stuff from the ocean. But if you go too far out, the waves get stronger and you can die and stuff.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to get the Switch version.
Yeah, the Switch version is fun. I don't know if they have Shipwrecked on PC, so I don't know. That's something we can check on. But then on the Switch that they also have a expansion that you can buy that's called Don't Starve Hamlet. So from the looks of it,
what?
It's like Shakespeare. Let me see if I can pull up pictures so you can see.
That is so cool. This game, gosh, I remember when I first played it too. I was so like off-put by it and didn't, because a lot of the survival games, that's the whole fun of it, is figuring out the process of how to survive without any tutorials and without knowing what a certain uncooked meat does to you or whatever. But the fact that they've expanded so much, that is so rad. What clicks, what's the rating that you would give it?
It's hard to say because I've only been able to play it for a day. I got it yesterday, so I was playing it yesterday and today.
This is so cute. Oh my god, I need to play it.
Yeah, Don't Starve Hamlet. It looks like there's a lot more like indoor areas that you can have. You're like in a town.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think it's like $7 to add on.
Oh, that's not bad. Sweet. I will do my research on that. That is for sure.
Yeah. I would probably give this game, it 7 clicks because this is my favorite like type of game, is the kind where you can just get on and like it doesn't like have an ending really. Except this game has endings. I die so much, but it's just kind of like collecting things,
Yeah, to further
game.
To further your home base.
Yeah, games like this, like Animal Crossing, like Stardew Valley, where you can just kind of play for hours and
get lost in it.
Yeah, and you're not emotionally invested in it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I would give it 7. But it's hard.
It is hard. That's why I gave it 6, because I love the game, but the difficulty, and that's just for me, just in general. Like the difficulty is strictly my own opinion because I don't want to downplay myself, but just my lack of being able to problem solve, I guess. Like figure out the game. That's just my own little tidbit. That's all. It's a good game. Don't starve together. We'll have to play on the Switch sometime for sure.
I'm trying to find... I wanted to find a quiz we could take, like, what Don't Starve character are you?
Do it. That would be a lot of fun.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm gonna do you first.
Okay.
Enter name, Melissa. Start quiz. Okay. So this is from youquiz.com.
Okay.
You worked very hard on a project. You were proud of the end result, and now you're showing it off to someone you respect the opinion of. They are clearly unsatisfied with your work and immediately point out a flaw. How do you feel?
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So the answers are devastated. You work harder than ever before. You'll show them what you can really do. The next one is get angry. Who does this person think they are? Saying something like that about us, about something I worked hard on. Third one, of course you're a little bit upset, but you don't let it keep you down. There's always next time to do a bit better, right? You note their criticisms. Last one, dejectedly take their criticism. Perhaps you really didn't do quite as well as you thought.
Ooh, it's a toss-up between being dejected or devastated because I feel like I immediately have to right the wrong.
Mm.
So I feel like my first instinct would be devastated. Yeah.
Quick, think of your absolute favorite food. What kind of dish are you imagining? It's a little embarrassing, but I'm thinking of a dish piled high with comfort food or sweets. Something simple that I made all my own, like a family recipe or an experimental dish. Home-cooked meals are the best. How do I put this? Literally anything and everything, pretty much. A hearty meal from an upscale restaurant, like a sushi platter or a steak dinner. Good food tastes better.
I'm just going to have to go with the first one. It's a little embarrassing, but comfort food is always comfort food.
Do you like animals?
Yes.
Well, I suppose cute ones are all right. Not really. They're a lot of work. Yes, all of them. In theory, yes. On the other hand, I tend to get bitten, scratched more often than not.
Yes, all of them. I love all the animals.
Do you believe in supernatural phenomena that can't be proven with absolute facts?
Ooh.
I like believing in those things, whether they're real or not. That's tough. I don't tend to subscribe to those beliefs, but I would never try to argue. No way. I stick firmly to logic. On a dead serious level, yes.
People shouldn't go around messing with Ouija boards or spell books. Okay. It's definitely the first one, but on a dead serious level, I still feel that way. I'm like, nobody should play with Ouija boards.
I say, do you.
Yeah, exactly.
What is your favorite time of year? Mild season is nice out at sea. That time of summer and before winter is really wonderful. Oh, the time after summer and before winter. Oh, definitely autumn. Fall is a nice temperature. They're all the same.
I know, seriously. Just mild because it says something about the sea.
Okay, yeah. Do you feel comfortable being designated the leader of a given group? Not really. I certainly do. Golly, no.
Golly, no.
Maybe.
I'm gonna go with I certainly do.
Golly, no.
Golly, no.
Oh, God. Somebody walked into your room and you were singing along to your favorite guilty pleasure song while it blasted on full volume. How bad was it? Oh, no. They're going to have that awful catchy pop song on me forever. Unless jazz is suddenly considered a guilty pleasure. They barged in. I turned unblinking as death metal continued to shred what remains of my eardrums. Nobody can ever know I like country music.
Oh, okay. I am never ashamed of my guilty pleasure music. Although metal would not be my, death metal would not be my guilty pleasure, but that's the answer I'd have to go with because honestly, not even guilty.
You received a gift for your birthday from a close friend, but really, even though you'd never tell them, you're kind of disappointed by it. What was it?
Ooh.
It's a movie ticket, but the film seems way outside my taste. A gift? There's no way I'd ever be disappointed.
I know.
That's like me. It's
yeah, right.
It's a batch of handmade cookies, but they were burnt kind of badly. It's just a $10 gift card to Starbucks.
I mean, I like coffee as much as the next guy, but I guess I expected something a little more personalized. No. Oh, no. A gift. A gift? There's no way I'd ever be disappointed.
There's no way I'd ever be
There's
disappointed.
no way.
Would people say they can read your emotions more from your voice or your facial expression?
Facial expressions.
Mm.
Easily. Yep. I'm more expressive with my face. That is for
I
sure.
feel like you're also not really expressive. I feel like you're good at not letting people know.
I'm so happy you said that because I feel like I wear it all on my face too.
I feel like you do in a sense, but I feel like the way you convey your emotions is not the way typically people are like looking to read.
To process it.
Right. And so when you do, I feel like people most of the time don't get it.
Fair. That's fair. I end up clarifying a lot.
You're not dishonest about your emotions. You don't ever like hide them.
Right.
But also you also don't share them with everybody who doesn't deserve them at the same time.
So true. Because it's a lot of work, man.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I am a night owl. As much as I'd like to be an early bird.
I'm both. And I wish I wasn't. I wish I could sleep.
Yes, insomnia is a bitch.
You got roped into playing chess, and you get to select your color, black or white.
I always choose, because I used to play chess, like hardcore, so I always choose black.
Moving second lets you analyze your foe?
Yes. Always.
What kind of playing card suits your mood? Diamonds, pentacles, spades, swords, hearts, cups, clubs, wands.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to go with hearts and cups. Clubs and wands was a close second.
How convincingly could you potentially fake breaking down crying?
Oof.
If I did it in public, everyone would probably immediately wonder who hurt me. My acting isn't the best. I'm no good at portraying emotions I'm not feeling in the moment.
That is very true. I've tried in many different situations to try and cry on demand, and it always fails me every single time. So I feel like my acting isn't the best. I'm not good on the moment, like not good at it.
I can't speak on that. I've never seen you try to fake an emotion. I feel like you're always honest with me. So
if it was like if we were strictly talking about crying, that's a hard one. But you're right. Like I don't ever try to give like the wrong emotion to how I'm feeling ever.
You got dragged to a history museum. What part of it interests you the most?
Ooh.
The art wing is my favorite. You're telling me they have a section on aerodynamics and space travel? The raw history sections with all the period clothing and architecture. I like the natural history displays.
Oh, the last two. Oh, God, I can't choose. Oh. Because they can't taxidermy a whale, I'm going to go with the second one.
Is that a thing? They can't taxidermy a whale? I
don't believe so. I think because just the preservation process would be such a hard thing to figure out. It'd probably be really hard. Everything I've seen has always been plastic, so.
Oh.
I don't know.
Do you consider yourself to be a good person? Yes, of course. Well, let's just say that I'm a work in progress.
Work in progress.
Could you imagine if someone had those two options and picked yes, of course? If your options were yes, I'm a great person, or I'm a work in progress.
Right? Like,
I'm like,
okay.
We know you're not that good a person. When you achieve something you are truly proud of, do you tend to show off a little? Certainly. I want everyone to know. I feel like it's more polite to just keep that thing to myself.
I like keeping it to myself. I've actually realized that recently.
Yeah, I always usually keep things to myself.
Right?
As well. Yeah.
It feels more beneficial because when you don't bring it on to somebody and you're not expecting a positive reaction or whatever, it's much more sweet when it's noticed unprovoked. And so that to me is a win-win because I'm proud of myself. If they notice, awesome. If they don't, whatever.
If they don't, then I'm okay with with the praise I'm
Right.
getting from myself and with being
Right.
proud of myself. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I feel like.
Mhm.
You are assigned a task that is quite difficult for one person to complete, but your least favorite teacher or boss. How do you handle it? I can do this by myself. It'll be hard work, but I have faith. I try to complete it on my own like they intended, but it might be very difficult and stressful because I work better in a group. I politely ask a friend or coworker for help. I object. Why would they assign something so huge to just one person?
Okay. Just because my past 2 jobs have been both independently heavy and also both team heavy, I feel like, of course, I have the capability, but if I need help in order to complete it and make it a possible process, I'm going to ask people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a work situation, outside of that, I do it myself, like no big deal. But if it's a teacher or a boss asking me and I don't really like them, it's my least favorite person, I'm going to ask for help. So I'll politely ask a friend. Yeah.
All right. You ordered an important package on the internet, but it's been 3 days since the supposed arrival date. Are you worried at all? Of course I am. It's been over 75 hours since my package was supposed to be here. Not really. I'm sure it's just a mix-up. It'll get settled.
Bitch, I have anxiety. Of course I am. Always worried.
If it's not there the day that it's supposed to be there, I'm on the phone. Hello. I just want to make sure that it didn't get lost. Is that the right address on it?
I'm not accusatory. I'm just like, hey, is everything okay? You know?
All right. Tell me a joke. Stop me if you've heard this one before. 2 guys walk into a bar. I mean, I would, but people tell me my sense of humor is pun bearable.
No.
The universe's cruelty, in spite of the innocence of many, reads something is like a joke. I can't think of any on my own, but I'm about to check my favorite website book for ideas and absolutely going to pass it off as just thinking of something.
The last one is so accurate for me.
Oh, God.
I'm unoriginal when it comes to jokes.
Finally, pick a flower. Roses, poppies, carnations, daisies.
Daisies. Which one would you pick?
Daisies also. Daisies, I think, are my favorite flowers.
Really?
Yeah, because I like, on Alice in Wonderland, I like the lazy daisies.
Oh, cute. I like daisies.
You got
I'd pick lilies.
Charlie.
Really?
If there were one way to describe you, it would be unique. Your fashion tastes are probably a little on the avant-garde side, and you have this absolutely infectious curiosity for everything around you in the world.
True.
You're chatty. As you interrupt me. You're chatty, but in the best sense. You have a good sense of leadership and you love eating a lot. Perhaps the most fascinating thing about you is how you tend to bring out the best in others.
Oh, the
good.
only thing that's not true is the avant-garde like fashion sense. Otherwise, it's pretty accurate.
You don't think you have an avant-garde fashion sense?
No. I mean, my scrubs that I'm wearing are not...
9% of people who take the quiz get Charlie. It's the third most popular.
Oh, wow.
Option.
Yeah, there's so many characters in that game. Holy cow.
Oh, my God.
Overcoming psoriasis. Ammiel.
I'm going to try to go through this fast. So, I'll probably do that one. Oh, favorite food.
Yeah. Comfort food.
Do I like animals? Yes, all of them.
Yes.
Do I believe in supernatural? I like believing in them, even if they're real or not. Yeah.
Yes.
What is your favorite time of year? Oh, I guess it's between the time after summer, before winter, definitely autumn, and fall is nice. So autumn, that's fine. Comfortable being a leader. Oh yeah, I love being in charge. If someone walks into my room while I'm listening to pop, probably. You receive a gift for my birthday. A gift? I would never be disappointed. Would people say they can read your emotions?
I would say, yeah, you're more expressive with your voice, but you're not expressive in a lot of ways too.
Yeah.
I think you're analyzing.
I think I'm pretty closed off until I let you, like, I let my wall down around you.
Right.
You're kind of an early bird. I'm going to say second move as well. Playing cards. I like diamonds, pentacles.
Yes.
How convincingly could I cry? Oh, yeah. Everyone would ask who hurt me. If I got dragged to a history museum. This is probably not interesting.
I think it's extremely interesting.
Yeah, people probably can't even hear me. This part can be cut.
It's honestly, they got the gist of the questions, so I think it'd be fine.
History museum, art wing. Do I consider myself a good person? I'm a work in progress because I'm not a horrible person. When I achieve something that I'm proud of, do I show off? No, I like to keep things to myself, typically. Assigned a task by a boss I don't like. I object, honestly.
Yeah.
I ordered an important package on the internet. Oh, of course, I'm worried. No, right. Where is it? Tell you a joke. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Pick a flower as daisies. Let's see. Ooh, I got Weber.
Ooh.
You're a person with a lot of dualities to you. With an identity that may be considered confusing and contradicting, kind yet pragmatic, brave yet shaky, childlike yet mature, you might have trouble describing yourself to others. Rest assured that these dualities make you who you are, and that would be a lovely human being. You are legitimately a very good person who takes into account the well-being of their friends and family far before their own. That part's true. Don't ever forget to care for yourself, too. Let's see. And 4% of people
got Weber.
Interesting. This is a fun game.
I agree.
And the different characters are like what makes it fun.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to see who got Mrs. Wickerbottom. That was a good quiz, actually, because, most of them are like cliche, like pick a color,
Yeah.
That was a good in-depth quiz. I liked it.
It was a little in-depth.
10 out of 10 clicks for that one.
For that quiz.
Yes.
Okay. So, are we ready then to move on?
I'm ready.
The flick of the night. So this is a movie that I thought when it came out, I thought it was honestly slept on by a lot of people because it just wasn't talked about. And people who did talk about it, it was like, I don't know. I feel like it got some like bad reviews too that.
Did it?
I just don't feel like. To me, it's kind of like, well, what are you expecting from this kind of movie? It's also
a very not, in my opinion, not a well-known producing company. It didn't have like a name brand behind it. So it made it obscure by that reason alone.
Right. So this movie is The Happytime Murders. Came out in 2018, starring Melissa McCarthy. And I have to say that when I first saw this movie in theaters, I thought it was so funny.
It was pretty great.
I thought it was so perfectly done for what they were doing. And it just is fun to watch comedians be able to just kind of like go off the rails in ways that you aren't allowed to with humans.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's go through the movie and we can talk about what we like and things.
Yes.
So the movie opens up with the puppet Phil Phillips, and he's driving through LA. He's basically going to work, but he's like in the bad part of town, and you see a lot of like puppet hate, basically. So you can see in this world, like, there's a lot of discrimination against puppets. And humans are obviously the ones who have privilege.
Yes. Yes.
So he gets to his office, and his secretary is named Bubbles.
She's my favorite actress ever, dude.
Played by Maya Rudolph, and it's just like she's so stunning, and her performance is always spot on.
It's top notch. It's top.
Hilarious.
I can tell you that Melissa McCarthy and her are my favorite.
Oh my gosh, they're both of them in this movie.
Yeah.
But I digress. Yes. So she has this line that he says to him, and this is an example of like the first time you see the extremism they can do with the puppets, and it's not like shown, but she's like reading him his messages of all these people who are mad at him, and one lady says, she's like saying that she left a message, I'd like to sew your asshole shut and just keep feeding you.
Tell me why this was a key point I wrote down as well.
I'd like to sew your asshole shut and just keep feeding you.
And the way she delivered the line was so like just stoic. What's the word I'm looking for? She was just so deadpan with it, and like hitting the punchline over and over. Yes. Oh, it was so good.
So good. So that's just an example of like, this is definitely not a children's Muppet movie.
Right. Right.
So in his office, he meets Sandra White, who is hires him for blackmail. This is the case that he thinks he's going on.
Yeah.
She is apparently
the sexiest Muppet ever.
Right. She is pretty hot, honestly.
She is cute, yeah.
I would have a hard time saying no to that puppet.
The purple
bush
carpet, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Purple carpet puppet. So she's getting blackmailed, and apparently she says that she's in this like high wealthy family that would be like devastated if they found out about her like being so promiscuous, whatever, yada yada. So she gives him this letter of the blackmail, and it's your typical like cut out letters from a magazine. And he recognizes the letter, and he starts following the trail, right? And the first letter he sees is from like a porn magazine that he recognizes. And God, and this is like what I love. I think this character might be my favorite.
Phil?
No, this character he's about to meet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Might be my favorite in the movie. The adult adult movie store owner, Vinny, he is everything. So he goes to this adult store to try to find whoever rented or got this magazine or this book or whatever that matches this letter. And he starts talking to this guy, Vinny, and he asks, do you have this magazine? Pulls it out, and he sees the letters match. It's the letter P. And he's like, oh, it looks like this mystery is brought to you by the letter P. And Vinny's like, oh, you want P? We have some on the shelf in the back. Dude! I love it. I love it.
He also isn't that like when he first walks in, Vinny's not at the register. He's in the back.
Yep.
And he just opens the curtains like the
right.
70s
because
curtain.
He's running an adult store in front and a porn studio in the back.
Yes.
Where they're filming Cows Gone Sour.
Cows Gone Sour, that's what it was.
This Muppet porn. And and this cow is just being jerked off on all of its udders by an octopus. So all 8 tentacles are, and it's milking, it's squirting. Yeah,
like, everywhere.
It's the money shot, baby.
Yeah, and they kept going. It's not like the camera was recording. Vinny left the scene, opened the curtain, and was talking to his customer.
And this is what I mean by, like, for what it is, this movie, I think it hit it exactly what it was trying to do. The plot line, it's not original. It's not anything like that we haven't seen before.
Right.
However,
we have not seen it before.
However, they're giving us new material. It's like, it's a comedy, and it's all a comedy really needs to be for me is funny. Yeah. It has to be fresh in its jokes. And if the jokes are fresh, then the plot line, I can follow along with the structure. I don't care about that, because the truth is every movie is based off a structure and is predictable. So if you're doing it good, that's what I want to see.
Exactly.
And this scene with Vinny is what made me feel like, oh my gosh, funny.
This is it.
Unfortunately.
I know.
It doesn't get to last very long, because this is when we start getting into the real plot of the movie, which is the Happytime murders. So here in the porn shop is when the first murder takes place. He sees there's an old bunny that walks into the shop, and
he was a part of the show, the Happytime show.
Does it? I don't know if we learned that right away that he was part of the show, or if we learned
definitely
that
not
in the next scene. But I think we do know that he recognizes him, because he's like, "Oh, hey, Bumbly," and he's like, "Oh, that's not me. I don't know who that is." But then someone comes in with a gun, with an assault rifle, probably.
Yeah.
It was pretty big.
It was wild.
Yeah. And basically shoots everyone in the shop. Now, at this point, Phil had already gone in the back because he was looking at the records for people who had also bought that magazine.
Yes.
So in the back, there was a Dalmatian dominatrix porn happening that was so loud. And it was this Dalmatian puppet that was literally like whipping a fireman.
Yeah. Gagged and...
Girl, like, I mean...
Get it.
I'm not gonna say I didn't look that up. I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna say I didn't look up the cow tentacle porn. Like,
cow's gone sour,
right?
So he's in the back. He doesn't hear anything, and when he comes out, it's literally just like fluff and cotton everywhere. And I swear to God, it's like as morbidly graphic as a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
but with no blood.
Yep.
Which is just like hilarious in its own. Like, right.
And in a way, yes, hilarious, because you're like, oh my God, you know, it's just down to their basic structure. They're just fluff and cotton. But in a way, I was still just as shocked. I was still like, just because the way they shot it, the way they filmed it was so graphic. In a way, because when they were shot, it just went like poof.
It was like no cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just as shocking as you would feel seeing a human shot, you know?
Yes. And at the same time, you were like, well, I was sad because I loved Vinny from the moment you saw him. And so he's gone, and you're like, I
know.
He's gone too soon.
He's too soon.
But also... just seeing those explosions, you're all, but at the same time, you're like, wait, but it's just like fluff, so I don't really know how to feel.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's just a puppet, you know, like whatever.
And they definitely used this movie to like prove to us everything that they're gonna do in this movie.
Yeah, in that scene alone,
Yeah, right at the beginning, they were like, be prepared. Like, this is not gonna be a kid movie at all.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's rated R, so.
Yep.
So after the first murders, the cops come the next day, and we meet Detective Edwards, Melissa McCarthy.
The queen.
She's So funny. So funny. Every performance that she's done, it doesn't matter the movie, it doesn't matter the script, it doesn't matter co-stars or budget, anything. She is gold. Her performance
absolutely
is dead on, fucking legit. She's amazing. I love her.
She's the epitome of my humor and in all of the senses. So yes, I 100% back you up on that opinion.
She just brings so much character and like real humanity to everything, to all of her comedy, that you laugh with her and you feel for her, and she's so good.
Yeah.
So she comes in, and Leslie Barker is the lieutenant.
Yeah.
Stanley from
The Office.
The Office. So when you see him come on, you're like, oh my gosh, he's not sitting at his desk.
It was a fresh sight to see him. It was nice.
It was like, it's like refreshing when you see someone from The Office not as their character, because they're so iconically stapled as that character that it just feels like a cameo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Leslie David Baker, not Barker.
But he did well. He did very well.
Yeah. He was good. He was good in this movie also. So they all have this conversation where you basically find out that Edwards and Phillips don't like each other because they used to work together, had a falling out for something that we don't know yet. But then it cuts to the Happytime gang TV commercial. And you see everyone in the gang, and it's kind of like a Pee-wee's Playhouse type, or like do you remember that show Puzzle Place on, I think it was PBS?
No.
But it was, Puzzle Place is kind of like all the puppets live in the same house. So it is kind of like the Happytime gang. Let me see if I can share it with you. You have these puppets that all live like in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of like this type of show. It was supposed to be like a kid's show.
Got it.
And you see all these people, and then you realize in the commercial that Mr. Bumbly was a part of the cast. So that's when you first see it. And then it zooms out and you see that they're watching the show at a diner, and it's Phil, and he's with his brother. And Phil's brother was also in the show. He was like the officer in the show. And then they get in a fight about how his brother has gotten plastic surgery to look more like a human. Yeah,
he got his skin or his cotton bleached.
His fur bleached and his nose redone. And Phillips is like, you're not a real puppet.
Basically,
you gotta stay true to who you are on the inside. And his brother's like, well, I'm making all this money off of syndication for this show. That's when he first mentions that the show's going to go into syndication. He's going to make all this money, yada, yada. And Phillips is like, whatever, I'm done eating lunch. I'm going out. And he sees Edwards outside. She's waiting for him outside the diner, and she's drunk in the middle of the day. And this is where we learn that she has a little bit of a substance abuse problem, probably.
Yes.
Because she plays drunk really well.
Yes.
To the point where it's like, you can't really tell until a few lines in that she's slurring her words a little bit. And you're like, wait, are you drunk? It's perfect. It's exactly how you would imagine talking to an intoxicated person in real life. So then they get in a fight again about how he's not a cop anymore because puppets can't be cops anymore because of something that he did. So then he goes back to his office. He's late drinking, and we see that he was this marksman, this great marksman, and then he ends up missing a shot and basically gets Edwards testified against him in court, saying that he can't shoot another puppet. And he got kicked off of the police squad. And that's when the second murder happens, and it's cuts to the hot tub scene, and it's his brother. His brother's in the hot tub with this model girl. this is the first time in the movie where I was like, wardrobe?
Yeah.
Because she is wearing a pink bikini top and then these like pink dance shorts.
Yeah.
Like cheetah print dance shorts. And
it was
I'm like,
strange.
I'm like, this is weird. Because he's like, ooh, checking out her butt. But I'm like, she's just wearing shorts and it seems so weird. Like, why? Like, they couldn't just find a bikini? Like,
yeah, like something to look more, I guess
there was a time where bathing suits were like kind of designed to look like those kind of boy short things.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, not in 2018.
Right.
It was obviously like a really old bathing suit or somebody's dance shorts. And I was like,
yeah, the color was not even,
it didn't match the top even. Yeah, I was like, this is not, I'm like, wardrobe. But then again, like, who knows what the budget, I mean, probably didn't have the biggest budget.
I could tell.
I couldn't imagine an actual bikini costing more than what she was in. But, you know, maybe they just worked with what they had. So,
yeah.
I'm just pointing that out, that I thought that was looking a little weird. Those cheetah print shorts on that girl. I'm like, I probably would just put her in an actual bikini.
But here we are.
But, so basically, she gets out of the hot tub to make more drinks. And we see the dark figure, the same figure that went into the porn shop, now is at the bottom of the stairs and lets out some dogs. And the dogs run up the stairs and just rip that puppet to shreds.
Isn't it like a freaking Boston?
Yeah.
A Boston Terrier? Oh,
so
boy.
Goddamn funny. The next scene, when one of the police officers comes up... Because the next day they're investigating the scene and Lieutenant is talking to Phillips again because it was his brother, so they call him.
Yeah.
He's talking to him. And then a cop comes up and he goes, I think I found the murder weapon. And he's holding a little puppy! He's so serious. Oh my God.
And he even had like a tag on it saying like evidence or something.
Oh my God. It was so... I think I found the murder weapon. Oh my God.
And he goes, get that dog out of here. The lieutenant says that. And he just turns around and he's like, oh,
but it's
okay.
So, like, the delivery is everything. It's so funny.
It was good because Phillips was grieving about his brother, like, retching over it, you know?
Yes. And he's like, at that moment, he comes in, I think I found the murder weapon. But it's just this little cute little dog.
Shit.
And the girl is being interviewed by the police, and she's saying, they were such bad dogs. They were bad, bad dogs.
Oh, those poor fragile little things.
I know. This movie has such, like, serious, this character is, like, literally torn to shreds by these dogs, like, one on each limb pulling him apart. And you see it. You see it happen, but it's just fluff coming out. Yep. So...
But it's, like, in your mind...
So it's not
even though it is
technically graphic, but it is pretty graphic.
Right. Like, your mind wants it to... Your mind is thinking of blood and limbs and bones, like, just... tearing apart.
But you just have literal fluff. Which actually kind of reminds me of this dream I had when I was little, where I had a dream when I was, like, 3, and I had, my little sister was 1, she was a baby, and I had a dream that Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger came to her crib. And they ripped off her hands and she just had fluff, like the puppets do.
Really?
Yeah, that was my dream when I was little.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what it meant.
But... yeah, who knows, like, what your 3-year-old brain was, like, feeling about it.
Yeah. But
That's crazy.
It was after I watched the movie Twins.
That movie. Oh, boy.
Anyway, back to Happytime Murders. So at this point, the lieutenant lets Phillips know that he's going to bring him on as a consultant for this case because they've decided that obviously they're targeting the Happytime cast. So they're going to try to figure it out from there. So Phillips and Edwards, once partners, then enemies, now have to work together again. Da, 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 da.
Yes. That's the love.
Which again, it's like these like our tropes are fine if you can be funny and original while you're playing them out. And I don't care. I'm not going to care.
Exactly.
So in the next parts of the movie, they realize that they kind of get a motive. So they see that since the show is going back into syndication, every cast member has a contract to get $10 million from it. And if the cast member has passed away, then it'll go to their spouse. And if they don't have a spouse, then it'll be divided up between the rest of the cast. So they realize, okay, so obviously the motive must be somebody in the cast is trying to kill off everybody else so they can get as big of a share for themselves. And so they start going and trying to interview everyone who's left alive in the cast. And the first person they go to, he was the mailman in the show or something, but now runs an underground poker game in the bad part of town. This scene, I like Melissa McCarthy a lot in again.
Yes. Hang on 1 second.
Uh-huh.
I know this is terrible timing, but before we get into it, because I have some things to say too, I gotta go pee real quick.
Yeah, let me pause it though.
Yes, intermission.
Okay, we're back.
Okay.
So they go around looking for the rest of the members of the Happytime gang to interview and ask questions, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
And they reach the first one who's running the poker game. And these kind of people are like kind of sketchy. These guys are gross looking. They're like, blech, like just your typical meatheads.
Yeah, sweaty
kind of
meatheads.
Guys.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, she has to prove to them that she can play poker because she's a human. They're like, this is like a puppet game. And we find out that she's part puppet because she has a puppet liver. Which is why she's able to like drink so much and like do so much drugs. And so they give her this like crazy puppet like rock candy. It's like supposedly like rock candy, and it'll like if you're a human, you'll get like in a diabetic coma if you snort it. But if a puppet, it's like ecstasy for a puppet. And this
initiation was to prove that she was partially puppet because they were like
no humans.
Yeah, no humans allowed.
So she does it. She's like, woo, party. And everyone's like, okay, you can play. So she plays, she wins. And the guy who's like one of the like guys at the table is like, you dumb bitch. And she's like, excuse me?
Yeah, right.
She's like, excuse me, baking powder? She is like, I don't like that word. And he's like, oh, bitches be crazy. And all the other guys are like, oh yeah, haha, bitches, haha. And there's one puppet who says something funny. I don't remember the words exactly, but he's like, that's exactly my views on women. And she's like, oh yeah, the ladies, they like you. And he's all, they do not, they decline.
Yes, they do, sir.
Oh, gosh. And so she ends up beating up everybody at the table because they all keep calling her a bitch. And she doesn't like that word. Good for her. Beats up everybody at the table and then gets their gun and puts it right on his head and like makes him apologize. So good feminist moment there in the movie. Unfortunately, while she's doing all that, Phillips is outside with Lyle, the former cast member, and a truck pulls up, bada bing, bada boom, third murder happens.
Yep.
So
all the while Edwards is in the bathroom taking another hit of the candy crack. So she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't even hear it. Well, she hears it and then comes outside.
Right. She took the rest of the candy crack and started doing them all because of her. She has her problems, right?
Right.
So they realize that, this is all just going to keep going. They have to work a little bit harder. And so they keep looking for the rest of the cast members. They find two of the cast members who were cousins.
Oh, yeah.
They played husband and wife on the show. They were cousins in real life. And then in real life, they got married and had kids and lived off in like the middle of the desert in like a middle of nowhere type of thing. And their kids were so like...
It was like the Hills Have Eyes type thing.
Yeah, they're just like screaming and
making incomprehensible noises.
Mm-hmm. And they find them dead in their house. So now there's how many left alive?
I think
there's like
more.
One, the crazy guy, the guy who's like the Beaker from the Muppets type character. And then
Judy or whatever her name was.
Yeah, the girlfriend who's like the human, right?
Yeah.
So now those are the last 2 living cast members.
All the while, the police department, though, they were also making sure that Edwards and Phillips weren't working together because she was on the force, he was not. And the police were following these murder cases, trying to figure out who was doing it, and they get more and more suspicious because he's at he's at every murder scene. And the cousin scene, he runs out of the house after he sees that they've been murdered because he saw the cloaked figure. The cloaked figure was behind the door.
There. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he went to go follow where the figure went. And when he went outside, the police were there telling him to put their hands up. So the cloaked figure got away, essentially. Yeah. And he was pretty much being speculated for the murders at that point.
Which actually doesn't totally make sense because he wasn't there for the second murder.
Mm-hmm.
He was
there
really only there for 4 out of the 5. So
yeah, right.
So come on. Just kidding. So then Edwards gets fired and she leaves the station in a huff and is like telling everybody off. And her husband is there. I love it. So the one guy, she's like, I kind of wanted to bang you or something.
Yeah.
And he's like,
there's
it's
still
not
time.
Too late. Yeah. Or there's still time. And and it's her husband in real life. I love that. Ugh.
Me too. I love their relationship so much.
Fucking cute. So cute.
It's not too late.
So funny. So then she goes to get Bubbles because Bubbles always believed in Phillips. And they work together to go try to find...
Oh my God.
Who it is. And they end up putting the pieces together that when Phillips shot the guy, when Phillips missed the shot, the whole thing that made him fired as a cop was that he missed the shot for this guy who was holding Edwards, like gonna kill her, had a knife or something to her head or a throat or a gun.
Yeah.
And he missed the shot and ends up shooting this bystander who was a guy with a daughter, and then his daughter saw her dad get shot. Like, they were just walking in the street, and she's like, oh my God, Daddy, no. So this girl had like purple hair, and Bubbles is like, oh, purple hair, that's rare for a puppet. And oh, what's that? Who has a purple bush but, Sandra White. So then she puts the pieces together that Sandra White was the daughter, and she is doing all of this to get back at Phil. But when they run away, all the evidence gets destroyed in a fire. They set off a booby trap. It all gets destroyed. But now they know who to go after, basically. They follow Sandra to the airport where she is with Jenny, the last surviving member of the murder, the Happytime gang. Oh, we skipped over the one guy who they found his body in the ocean. That was sad.
Oh, yeah, because it was Edwards. She was going kind of undercover at that point without Phillips.
Like going rogue on her own without anybody.
And he was so cracked out of his mind off of like the candy. When she found him, he was in this like dingy, crappy hole, and she was trying to talk to him, but he was so incoherent that like he was saying random stuff, and he kept mentioning wife, and he kept trying to say he would suck her dick. Yeah. And she was like, I'm not a dude.
She was like, it makes me wish I had a dick for you to suck. And I was like, the number of times I wish I had a dick for someone to suck.
Right? Like, that line, it came so fluently.
Yeah.
It was just so like nonchalant. I loved it. But yeah, he kept saying the word wife, and so Edwards was trying to put that puzzle piece in as well. But yeah, they found him on the beach.
So yeah, they find his body on the beach, and then they end up following Sandra to... Oh, she breaks him out of prison by...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So he's in they have him in custody. She breaks him out by shooting his arm, and then he gets in an ambulance. The EMT is so racist. He's like, what a waste of gauze, as he's wrapping his arm. I'm like, ooh, let me at him.
yeah, let me at him.
So they end up, they use the line, does this smell like chloroform to you? Which I think is in Community. I think he uses that line when they're...
Oh my God.
When they...
Does this smell like chloroform to you?
There's a scene in Community, there's an episode where they're at Jeff's, like, old lawyer. And I think they use that same line, does this smell like chloroform? So I'm sure that's an old bit. I'm sure they weren't the first ones to use it. I'm sure it's been around, but just an old bit of comedy history right there.
Oh my God.
So they get the EMT knocked out, and they knock out, they get him broken out. They follow Sandra to the airport, where that's the big climax of the movie. And Phillips has a chance to redeem himself, and he does, and it's a full circle happy ending. And,
well, Jenny, or whatever her name is, she died in a fiery car accident, and he was found at the scene fleeing from her death, right?
Oh, that's right.
And then I think once
they supposedly died in a fiery car accident, right?
Right.
Because when he gets to the airport, he sees that she's there. And so Sandra's whole plan was she married Jenny and then killed off the rest of the Happytime murder gang so she could get the money. So she could kill off Jenny and get the money then. As if you wouldn't be caught.
Right.
But, in Hollywood, they get away with crimes all the time. And even when they're caught, they just still... do whatever they want.
They hire people and they pay off people. But again, that's a small loophole that goes so unnoticed. Like, until you said something, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They get away with everything, or they try to.
All in all, I think this movie was really funny.
It was there. The points of humor weren't. See, that's what I love about Melissa McCarthy's humor. And kind of just the genre of humor this movie is. It's so unexpected, and it's so like when the tangents start, you kind of can see them coming, but it's so like it takes you off guard that you end up laughing out loud, and that's the kind of humor I love.
And the world that they set it in.
Yeah.
Where you really could just go off the rails. Like, you didn't have to hold back. And there are many times that Melissa McCarthy has done like PG or PG-13 movies where you can tell that she's still funny, but you can tell that she's holding herself back from like
true
everything she can do.
Yeah. And you still get the essence of her, Yeah.
But in this movie, when it was just, like, no boundaries, foot off the brakes, like, Melissa McCarthy in her comedic natural habitat.
Yes, natural habitat. Good word.
She's just so funny. This movie, I feel like, didn't get enough attention for Melissa McCarthy, for Maya Rudolph. They're just so funny.
And they're well known. You would think it would be a higher trafficked like movie.
I don't think that this movie had a lot of marketing. I didn't see a lot of stuff for it when it came out. I think I didn't even see the trailer for it until it was already released. Like, it was already in theaters by the time I was like, oh, what am I doing today? I'm going to look for what movies are out. I'm going to go see a movie. And I saw it was playing, and I looked at I was like, oh, Melissa McCarthy's in a movie? I hadn't even seen the trailer until I, looked at it that day.
I didn't even know about it until you said something. No idea.
It was just slept on, pretty much, when it came out.
Definitely.
And I think because people who saw it maybe weren't were expecting something different. And maybe people, I think a big turnoff for people are like, oh, it's predictable and stuff. But I'm like, that's...
Is it though? Is it really?
In a sense, like there are things like the plot line, but I'm like, that's plot lines are pretty much like story structured. That's like set in stone for a lot of things.
But the way it's filmed and the way the universe is set up, it's very unique.
That's how I feel. And I feel like they do such a good job of just laying out the like typical skeleton of the detective, like the
going rogue or
cop
whatever,
gone bad, detective, PI storyline. But they did it with Muppets. But they did it rated R with Muppets, and
hell yeah, they did.
And maybe, a lot of people just don't like puppets. Like, that's just a turn off for them. No matter what, they'll be like, oh, that's not. So I understand that, but
I am one of those people. I'd never watched the Muppets. I could care less about any of the Muppet series. It was just never an appealing, like, form of entertainment for me. But this, I could get behind completely. Because it was, obviously, it's rated R. It's adult humor, so it's funny. And it's not kid-like in the all of the sense of it, And also, I cherish movies that play the bloopers, and they also displayed some of the clips of the filming of the puppets. And one of which that sticks out into my mind immediately was the scene when Phillips is having sex with Sandy, right? Is her name?
I forgot to mention that the puppet sex scene, which was very remnant of the pushing the boundaries of the sex scene in Team America. But they were like, we're gonna push the boundary to the same level but in a different route, and I was like, okay.
It was so great. And then Maya's reaction, because she's the receptionist. God. But they were in his office. She gets out the cleaner and a rag.
I know. Poor girl.
It was, but yeah, I feel for her there, but it was so well delivered. It was so great. But they showed like the green screen that they wore, and another scene was the Dalmatian porn, the dominatrix.
Right.
Oh, so funny. I could only imagine like filming a movie with puppets and just having to be right there, being the voice actor for the puppet in front of a human being, just like playing as oh my God, I wouldn't be able to keep my composure. I would laugh.
So funny. The thing is that I get that comedies aren't always everyone's bag of tea, because I do think that you have to have some kind of like brain function in order to appreciate comedies. People who are kind of like, just kind of like, the lights aren't always on. Sometimes you don't always get the jokes. Sometimes maybe you want to appreciate a comedy, and that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay.
Not everybody gets humor.
There's also humors that I don't prefer. Like, British humor is fun and witty to all the extents,
but I would say that my brain is not. I'm going to say my light's not turned on to those jokes, so I don't get it.
Not turned on. Yeah,
I'm not going to get it, so I'm not going to laugh at it.
Right, exactly. Or it'll take me a little while to understand the joke.
So I get that humor is not an easy thing to do, because so many people have different walks of life and find things funny in different ways.
Right.
And some people are just literally stupid. Just kidding.
Well, and again, the maturity to be able to comprehend both and appreciate both is a big factor, Maturity and like intelligence all takes a play in it, So I get it.
So I can see a movie where it's like based on the jokes, like that's the main thing, that's the main draw of the movie. I can see that not appealing to as wide of an audience, because it's not as exciting as seeing blood everywhere when you're just seeing fluff everywhere. But it sure is funnier.
It is funnier.
And that's what I'm going to say about that. How many flicks did I give it? Did I give it a flick?
No, you didn't say yours yet.
I love it so much. I feel like I wish I remembered what I gave the other movies.
I think
I gave them very low scores. I'm going to give this one a 6 because
okay.
I think it's funny. I really think it's really funny. I think Melissa McCarthy does a great job. And like I said, storyline, originality, you know, as a movie, no, it wasn't original. So, but so what to me? Because for me, it was about being entertained and it was about just laughing. Right. And it did that for me. So I'm going to give it a 6 because I did laugh at it.
6 flicks out of 10. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to give it a 7. I was going to give it an 8, but I'm not going to give it that much credit. I'm really trying to be deliberate with my
I want to give high scores to good movies.
But I do give it 7 flicks out of 10 because it entertained me. It took me out of reality and it made me laugh. It also made me appreciate Melissa McCarthy and all the actors that were in it, and the originality of it was all very appealing to me. And I don't like Muppet movies or anything of that sort, so that was super cool to find a movie that I actually found enjoyable to watch and finish. So 7 is a good common ground for me for that movie. For sure.
I was a little more harsh on my score, but I was feeling a 7.
Yeah.
I went down to a 6 because I was like, well, I'm going to save my high scores for something.
Right.
That was a little bit more original plot line, but I feel like I love this movie for what it is. I wouldn't say that I would change anything about it.
Right. I agree.
I think it's a good watch.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah. There's also so many hidden just underlying relations to real life and how just the discrimination towards the Muppets is received, and just the portrayal of like reality was really awesome to see in a joking manner, but yet also in a very grave manner too, you know, like in a weird way. You're kind of like, damn, that could get deep if you really sit and think about it. Right. Even though
it's stuff that if these were humans, you would really be taken back by the things that people said and did to them, even though people say and do these things to humans in real life all the time. Yep. And no one says a fucking thing.
Yep.
Well, exactly. I mean, not no one. There are good people who say,
but the situations that go unspoken or unheard, unnoticed, it's
far outweighs the situations where there's someone to speak up.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that was a good movie to review because I really liked it.
I like that movie too.
Yeah. Does that conclude? Is that what we're doing tonight?
That's it. That's our click and our flick.
Click and flick.
Thanks for listening, you guys.
Yes, thank you. It's been fun. It's relieving to be, like I said before, it's so nice to be able to talk about it and like review it and get to the bones of it.
Yeah, just to really process how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
I agree.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, next week.
For the next click and flick. We'll see what we go on about.
Yes. To be determined.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey
folks. Thanks for listening and sticking around.
If you enjoyed what you heard, subscribe and follow for some more Click and Flick content.
If you'd like to hear us talk about your favorite movies and video games, you can send us your suggestions to clickandflickpodcast@gmail.com.
That's click, A-N-D, flick podcast@gmail.com.
We can't wait to hear from you guys.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.